Hello, I'm Jo. The thing is, it's a comedy evening tonight, so I won't be doing a great rant about the charity, but suffice to say, it is a brilliant charity, and it's got a fantastic ethos behind it, and I got involved some years ago. My mother actually said to me relatively recently, because she is now nearly 80, and she said to me, I really don't want to end up in hospital, completely unable to be independent, so will you sort me out? And I said, define sort you out. And she went, well, like a pillow over my face or something. So I said, I can do that tonight if you want, because she is quite annoying. But she turned that option down. So we're keeping an eye out for an appropriate date. And actually, Dignity in Dying is quite appropriate for comedians, really. I thought it was some sort of comedy support group for budding comedians, because we all have died so many times. It was the school holidays recently, which basically means if you're a mother and you've got children, you are a children's entertainer for 6 weeks, and you feel mentally ill after about a week. Because every day you have to think of something for your child to do. Because in my day, we would just let run in the woods for 6 weeks with a bit of bread and a dirty cup of water. And my mum would go, don't come back till it's dark. You can't do that now because they ring Childline. So you have to think of entertaining things for them to do. So we took them to visit my dad, because that's always quite entertaining. Because my dad, he just is an entertaining person without realizing. You know, when I started doing comedy, he said to me, what do you wear when you go on stage? And I went, well, I just wear what I normally wear. And he said, don't you wear a hat? That's a bit of a fucking weird thing to say, isn't it? And, you know, bless my dad, a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, he had quite a bad stroke, and he had to give up work, so he couldn't afford his house, so he moved into a caravan. And, you know, I'd been doing comedy for quite a long time. I could have afforded a nice flat for him, really, but he wouldn't let me go out when I was 16, so bollocks to him. Hold a grudge, that's my motto.
And then the first time my son opened his eyes, I don't know if I'm sure many of you have had this experience, when you first meet eyes with your child, you almost hear them talking back to you. You almost hear oh, hello. Oh, you're in charge, are you? Oh, that's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure. Because you will make mistakes. Oh, you will make mistakes. And I'll remind you of those mistakes until you die. So, let's see how far you can get without fucking me up. And I remember within about a week of Archie being born, I started to imagine, what will I do wrong that will accidentally turn him into a cannibal mass murderer? What will be my one little mistake that I make that means that in like kind of 30 years' time, it turns out that he's cooked and eaten 76 people, and he gets caught, and eventually I go and see him and I go, Archie, why did you cook and eat all those people? And he'll say, don't you remember, Father? And I go, no. Don't you remember that day on the beach? Chesil Beach, I think it was. I was eating a mivvy. There was a sudden gust of wind. The mivvy fell and landed in the shingle, and you shouted at me, even though it wasn't my fault. From that point onwards, I knew I'd kill.
But I still drive rather too much. As you can probably tell from looking at me, I shouldn't be driving, I should be walking places. But I am the one in my family who does all the driving, because my husband never learnt to drive, in my opinion.
Keep calm, carry on. You know what, I just don't take advice from inanimate objects. Am I right, folks? Other than road signs and books, but you know, the ones in your house, I know I don't put up with that. Like, you know what? You know, an egg cup does 15 minutes work a day max. What do they know about stress? Giving us an attitude adjustment, you know. Although I don't want to be a hypocrite, I did once take some advice from a household inanimate object, but it was quite good. It said very simply, "Keep away from children." Though I knew they were up to something. Yeah. Thanks for the heads up, plastic bag.
Because, you know, I've got to that age now where really, if I don't get fit fairly soon, I'm probably going to die in about a week and a half. And, you know, I woke up in the middle of the night not so long ago. Christ, I haven't done any exercise since I was 2. Went to see my GP, said, you know, is it too late for me? He said, it's never too late. Just do something a couple of times a week that gets you slightly out of breath. So I started smoking again. And can I say, I feel absolutely great.
So I was walking down the road the other day. Which road? See, doing my own heckles, saves time. Same road as ever. Think about it, all roads link up. Topologically, there's only one road. If you can imagine a road doesn't link to any other road, it's not a road, is it? It's a runway. So walking down the road, it was raining. It was raining, but everything was glistening. Everything was glistening. I thought, the world is so beautiful. Why would anyone in their right mind bother to take drugs? And then I remembered I was on drugs. That was the reason. Trying to trace back my addictions. And I was thinking, what was my first addiction? And I thought, of course, air. Followed by milk. Like a fool, I mixed them. Next one after that, probably attention. I'm over that. Television, I don't watch that anymore. It's one of the few things I really have conquered. I really just I don't watch it, as a rule. Having said that, as a rule, I don't watch TV. Having said that, my father-in-law died 3 years ago. We went over to Australia for 4 weeks to spread his ashes. Big man, took a month.
But actually, for a while, I did take up running because I thought that is the most comedy thing a fat person can do, isn't it? It's so entertaining for the rest of the community, watching a fat person try to run, especially in the gear that you're supposed to wear when you're running. Because you're bright yellow, you look like a piece of jaundice running along the road. And it's absolutely hideous. And in order to make myself train properly, I entered myself for a charity 5K in Hyde Park, which to date, probably the most embarrassing, humiliating day of my life so far. Because if you're a so-called celebrity, what they do is they put you right up the front of the race next to the professional runners. So the charity gang, there was me, the cheeky girls, Floella Benjamin, Ulrika Johnson, and then on my other side, Paula Radcliffe. Yeah, I kid you not, right next to me. Looking down at me like she was thinking, oh, the fat birds are going to have a cardiac when the gun goes off. And I thought, I can't bear to humiliate myself in front of Paula. They're going to take a picture when the gun goes off, and for the sake of my grandchildren, I'm going to make sure I'm in the lead for 0.03 of a second. So I waited for the gun, 3, 2, 1. I'm not joking, I went off like a fucking rocket. Fell over, knocked someone out of my tits, 800 women trampled over my head. End of.
Tell me how many people you've slept with. Right. So, and because I was scared of her, I did. And then, so I told her, and she said, ask me! And because I was scared of her, I did. I said, how many people have you had sex with? And she looked up, and then she looked down. And then she started counting on her fingers like this. And eventually, she looked at me and she said, do homeless people count? And I said, what? The homeless people count? Of course homeless people count. Why wouldn't homeless people count? What a stupid thing to say. What an offensive thing to say. And I'm not just offended by that on a moral level. I'm actually offended by it on a personal level. Because I myself, when I was a teenager, I was homeless for a very short time. And it was a horrible thing. It would be an awful thing for anyone to have to deal with. But it was particularly abhorrent for me because I don't like change. And that's a really tough sell when you're begging. Can you spare 20 quid for a lobster thermidor, sir? It doesn't work.
So I decided I would do something a little bit more dignified, and more dignified if you're a fat person swimming, really. Once you've got in the water, it's sort of iceberg effect, isn't there? Your head's poking out. There could be anything underneath. So I did a charity swim in the sea near Hastings. Yum! Absolutely lovely that was. And I had to sort of, get myself together for the journey from my handbag to the sea. And obviously I made a bit of an effort. I'd plaited my bikini line in case it caught on some rocks. And a friend of mine said, "You look lovely in your cosy, aren't you going to wear a cap?" And I went, "Unlikely to get a shag in the sea, but you never know. Maybe I'll pop it in."
So I live in London now, ladies and gentlemen. I live in Stoke Newington because I've got glasses, a beard and a cardigan. And that's what I was told to go. Go on, 73, that way. And before that, though, when I first moved, this is a little fact, ladies and gentlemen. When I first moved to London from Bristol, I used to live in a flat in Camberwell, which the previous incumbent was Joe Brown. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, while we're at it, massive round of applause, Joe Brown. There we go. He's living in a flat. He's living in a flat in Camberwell, which the estate agent described to me as vibrant. I think she's dyslexic. She meant to say violent. I don't know if you've been down to Camberwell, Denmark Hill. Down the road from where we used to live, there was a kebab shop called Kebab-ish. Even they're not sure what the hell's in it. I used to go and read books in the park. I say park, it was a patch of grass, right? And I'll never forget this. It was kind of and I'm reading a book, and this homeless dude with massive dreadlocks came up to me with the best opening line I've ever heard. He came up and goes, "Hey man, if you don't give me a pound, I'll tell you the end of that book." Where were you when I was doing my exams?
I think also I was being rude about marriage, wasn't I, earlier? And that's because it's a bit shit, to be quite honest with you. And what happens when you get married is everything nice you did before you got married sort of stops, really. And like I said to my husband recently, God, I can't remember the last time we had sex. And he went, "We're having it now." So that's always a nice surprise, isn't it?
I'd like to start this evening with a piece exploring the burden of free will in a universe of almost infinite variety. This is a haiku about Elton John's choice of salad. Elton spurns lettuce, spits scorn at evil lamb's leaf. He's a rocket man. Thank you very much.
Thank you for, have you had an entertaining night? Good, and thank you for giving money towards Dignity in Dying. It is a brilliant organisation, and there are so many... Oh, are you taking a photo of me? Well done. Dartboard worn out, has it? So please continue to support this wonderful venue and to support Dignity in Dying, and have a lovely Christmas. And I'll be sending you all a Christmas card. Thank you very much for coming. The menopause has set in. I can't remember anyone's names, but clap for them anyway. Thank you for coming. Good night.